I'm Chase Thompson, and these are my partners.
Olivia Close.
And Alexis Thompson.
And we would like to welcome you to our
PovTalk.
PovTalk. We are students at Washington Lee University in Lexington, Virginia, all pursuing a minor in poverty and human capability studies. Hence, our presentation today on poverty. To help you better understand poverty, I'm going to format a quick discussion for you. You're probably wondering, what is poverty anyway?
A lack of basic needs.
But to that question, what are basic needs?
Food, clothing, shelter, utilities.
And how might we acquire those things?
Money.
But money is monetary, so why do we need money?
To have a good quality of life.
Why is a good quality of life important?
Because that is what people deserve.
And why do people deserve it?
Because people matter.
Exactly. People matter, which is the driving force of our presentation today. To help you better understand poverty, I'm going to define it for you and give you some statistics. But first, I want to preface this by saying that this is a very simplified definition to one of the world's most complex issues: poverty. When a person or community lacks the basic services to meet their basic needs and to enjoy a minimum standard quality of living. How many people worldwide live in poverty? Well, look at the figure to the right of the screen. You'll see that 1/10 of people live in poverty, or nearly 1/10 of people live in poverty. Or 719 million people, and also 9.2% of people live on less than $2.15 a day, according to the World Bank in 2022. How many people in the US live in poverty? About 11.6% of the population in our own homelands, or 37.9 million people, live in poverty as of 2020-23, according to the US Census Bureau using the SPM measurement of poverty. Where do these statistics come from? There is no international consensus on poverty measurement. These numbers specifically are calculated based on a person's income and their ability to meet basic needs. These statistics should help you understand how the different measures of poverty determine very different figures as to who and how many people live in poverty. For example, the MPI, or Multidimensional Poverty Index, says that 1.2 billion people live in poverty worldwide. However, the capabilities approach claims that the number is much smaller and only 235 to 549 million people live in poverty. Our thesis statement: the most efficient way to measure poverty is to merge qualities from the Supplemental Poverty Measure, also known as the SPM, the Multidimensional Poverty Index, also known as MPI, and the capabilities approach using Nussbaum's and Sen's theory.
Beginning with one of the methods we do not agree with, we look at this argument. Rector makes the argument that the United States is wrongly calculating poverty. He believes that the poverty measurement should be more exclusive. With looking at data sets and different statistical values, he determines that the bottom of those in poverty are the true ones who should be measured. What we find wrong with this argument is that he does not take in the quality and conditions of these materials the impoverished families have. He strictly looks at the number on the chart to come up with his conclusion. Rector does not account for the real-life conditions of which these families are living in. For example, Rector believes that the person on the left is the one that should be measured by poverty, the homeless. For example, Rector believes that the person on the left is what poverty should measure, a homeless person. He does not believe that the figure to the right should be considered impoverished. However, he does not look or question if the house has a hole in the roof, or if the family has enough food in their fridge, or anything quantifying the quality of the household. Rector's belief does not encapsulate a full understanding of poverty and limits those in need. As you have seen in our introduction already, we are combining 3 different measures to create what we believe is beneficial to measuring poverty correctly. At first, we look at the SPM, or Supplemental Poverty Measure, and agree with the fact that it is based off basic necessities of food, clothing, shelter, and utilities. We also agree upon the idea to include income that is coming into the house and going out, also known as non-discretionary expenses. Deciding that this wasn't enough because it only looked at the income and location of the certain household, we decided to bring in the MPI and capabilities approach. Starting with the MPI, which was actually based off the capabilities approach, we agree with the idea that poverty should be more than just your monetary resources and consumption, and it should measure different geographical landscapes. With the capabilities approach, we understood the value of freedom and choice. This approach looks at the individual and what their circumstances are. The capabilities play a significant role and sustain a large impact on the well-being and functions of families and communities. If the capabilities approach is not considered, it does not highlight the unequal opportunity that is associated with not having education, healthcare, and other economical advantages. It also will take away the freedom of choice that a person has to pursue a fulfilling life with which the choices they have made. With the capabilities, they emphasize on the challenges that everyone is facing in their daily lives compared to the next person.
While we do believe this to be the best method when it comes to measuring poverty, we are well aware that there are several disadvantages to this measurement. For starters, the MPI requires some type of cutoff or threshold to be made. The MPI looks at monetary measurements as well as other assets, and it can be tricky to determine how much of a resource is enough to maintain a good standard of living. Additionally, the SPM provides other challenges. For example, it is not as simple as other methods of measurement, such as the extreme poverty measure, which includes a hard cutoff of an income of $2.15 per day. If you have an income above this number, you are considered to be out of poverty. However, if your income is below this number, you are in poverty. There are many more determinants that go into the SPM, making it a difficult method to use. It can also be challenging to collect a sufficient amount of data using the SPM in terms of receiving necessary data from each individual in every community. Lastly, the SPM is unable to detect short-term fluctuations in poverty. It is much more useful in observing long-term changes. Additionally, each measurement contains subjectiveness to some extent. Looking at this list of capabilities Nussbaum provides, it is clear to see that many people may have different definitions and ideas as to what can be considered an acceptable level of capability when it comes to something such as emotions, leisure and play, and even bodily integrity. We once again want to reiterate that we are aware how complicated of a concept poverty is to define and measure. With the knowledge that we have, we believe that in order to measure poverty, it would be best to use a combination of measures that focuses on the supplemental poverty measure and brings in certain aspects of the capabilities approach and the multidimensional poverty index. This method allows for a better, fuller understanding of what poverty looks like in communities, as it takes into account monetary aspects, other assets, and the capabilities and freedoms that people have in their community. And with that, we want to thank you for joining our
PovTalk.